What's up? Welcome to Just Facts with Bob and Ali. What's up, babe?
Hey, babe. Hi, all.
What's up? I'm good. How are you doing? Even though you didn't ask.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm
what's going on, people out there? All right, let's get out some hellos. First of all, I got a ton of mods in here, and I just want to thank you all, like right up front. Super appreciative of you guys doing that for us. It means everything. And we got a ton of folks out there, and it's growing every second. So I'm super excited about tonight's live. Y'all know that I've been like killing myself with the Delphi stuff, traveling back and forth on that. And that case is just next level crazy. I think if you've been following what's going on with that, y'all know that I'm concerned. And I know there's other people out there that are concerned, a lot of us actually, about what's going on in that courtroom with that judge and Richard Allen in that case in general. And, you know, obviously being concerned about justice for Abby and Libby. There's a lot of moving parts, and I'm definitely going to be talking to our very special guest that we have tonight about it. So I want to introduce her before I bring her on stage. Like I tweeted today, I don't fanboy over many people. This happens to be one person that I fanboy over. And the fortunate thing for me, because she's an incredibly powerful woman, so I'm not going to be like, you know, like a Jonah Hill meme type thing, because I happen to be married to an incredibly powerful woman. So I'm used to being in the presence of somebody like that. So thank you for that, Allison. I appreciate that, for getting me ready to be in the presence of two powerful women. Might have been overwhelming for some people.
Wow.
For me,
I'm so glad I can do that for you.
Hey, yeah, no doubt. All right. So, so tonight, super excited to have Maggie Freleng. If you don't know who she is, I'm going to give you a little bit of her bio before we bring her out. And I'm going to save like the best thing for last with respect to her. But so Maggie is a investigative journalist. She got her MA in journalism from CUNY back in 2015. She's New York girl, East Coast. She got her BA in journalism from UMass, and that was in 2011. And then she hit the ground running. You know, she like from the jump, she's just been crushing it, like in an unbelievable fashion. Like when I look at her career, and, you know, because when I was first checking out her bio, I'm like, damn, like she got her MA in 2015. It's like she's 8 years out of getting her master's and like killing it. So just a little bit about her background. She is New York based, and she focuses, and this is one of the things that I love most about her. She focuses on something that's near and dear to both Allison and I, which is wrongful convictions. She has essentially decided to dedicate her life to social issues in general, but she is really kind of focused in on wrongful convictions, which is such incredibly important work. It's heartbreaking. It's uplifting. It's like constant. Like when you get into it, you realize how much absolute depression comes along with it because of the ups and the downs. You feel like you're so close to getting something to happen, and then it's ripped out from right underneath you, so the ups and the downs of that particular area of social justice is gut wrenching, and you guys know, because I'm talking about it all the time, once you get in that appellate process, the machine chews you up, and it is a Herculean task to get somebody out of prison, even if they're wrongfully convicted, and so we're going to be talking about all that great stuff tonight. So she hosts multiple podcasts over her career. Currently, she's got Wrongful Conviction with Maggie Freleng, and she's doing that under Lava for Good. If you guys don't know what Lava for Good is, Jason Flom, who is another, like one of the other two people, probably three people on the planet that I kind of fanboy over. Flom is definitely one of those guys. He's an amazing guy. His bio is next level. I have high hopes of being able to get him on here too at some point, because he's just another amazing guy. And Maggie works very closely with Jason. And so with Lava for Good, they do incredible stuff. If you guys haven't dug into their catalog, I highly recommend it, because the storytelling's amazing and the stories are just as real as it gets in terms of wrongful convictions. And, they're out there doing the work. They're doing the real stuff. So I'm a huge fan of their work. Maggie also did Murder and Alliance. And that was frankly kind of the first time I had run into Maggie on a pod. I had seen back like early, I think probably, and I'm going to ask her, when she first got out of, she got her master's, she did the documentary on the disappearance of Maura Murray. And that was kind of like the first time I was ever introduced to Maggie. And like, that was an unbelievable piece. And it was really the deepest dive ever into that tragic case. And Maura Murray is still missing to this day. And that's obviously a cold case, but Maggie really like dug into that. And that's where, you can kind of just tell right away, she was for real. She was, she was getting into it, and she's a digger, and I love diggers, people that are really trying to figure some things out and aren't afraid to ask questions and aren't afraid to uncover things that may make people uncomfortable. And then she's got Unjust and Unsolved. And then like to me, like when, and I knew that she had won this last year, but last year she ended up winning a Pulitzer Prize for her work on the podcast Suave, and that was on PRX. And I mean, she won the Pulitzer Prize. I don't know what else you have to say about that, but it's incredibly powerful, and it's she's an amazing person, and she's also an adjunct professor at CUNY as well. I don't know how she does all that. I literally don't know where she finds the time. And so let's, without further ado, instead of her sitting backstage, I think it's time to bring her on. What is up? Hi.
I just tweeted. I'm like, that was the best intro I've ever been given. Like, well, going on 10 minutes.
Well, you know what? I mean, it all has to be said. I mean, you're a very impressive human being, and I mean, you're killing the game. So I'm super thankful. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited about this.
And I'm excited. I text you all the time, so now I'm excited that we just get to chat.
Yeah, me too. I'm super pumped about it. So, like, for our people out there that may not know who you are, why don't you give them a little bit about your background? Just like, where did you grow up? Like, what makes you tick?
Yeah, that's great. So you did all of the stuff I don't like talking about. So I am from New York. I grew up in New York. I grew up outside of the city. I've been living in the city the rest of my life, besides my very small time in Massachusetts. And then I'm actually moving to Austin in January. So any Texas people, I'm very excited about that.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm taking my very East Coast New York ass to Texas. So
wow.
it'll be fun.
What is it, business or is it relationship? Or
It started business. I go down there for prison all the time, working detention centers, prison. I was doing border reporting for a while. So I've just been in Texas a lot and kind of just fell in love with it. Besides the fact that it's cheaper and warmer and I'm going to have a pool now.
Well, it's so funny because we were trying to, no, I don't want to move because my kids are finally going to be about to start having kids. So I was like trying to work with the kids on like, where is a place that we can like agree we would all move, because my oldest daughter, she's working remote now. And so my daughter-in-law kept saying Texas. And I was like, I am not, are you kidding me? So then Austin came up and everyone was saying like, Austin's really different. And, so I was like, actually, contemplating it. And then I was thinking maybe if we tell her, because she's really against like guns and guns in the home. So I was like, maybe we need to explain to her that you're not going to be able to get like a babysitter or have your kids go to a friend's house. Obviously, I don't know that to be the case, but
right.
In any event. But so I came from Philly to here, and obviously the Midwest is nothing like, Texas, but, so I used to say water for water. And so when I came out here, I'd like go to the drive-through or somewhere. I'm like, can I have some water? And they're like, what do you want to order? And I'm like, water. No. And I'm seriously, I was like getting frustrated. Like, are you kidding? You can't figure out the words I'm speaking. So I had to sit in, like, I sat there for like probably 2 days going, aw, water. Aw, water.
It's funny because when I moved to Massachusetts, I got made fun of a lot for my New York accent. And then I kind of neutralized it, which helped me later when I started doing radio. I wound up, getting rid of the whole accent. So now I don't even know what it is. It's like half Texan, half New York. Sometimes I say weird Massachusetts stuff. So it's all over the place.
Yeah, I like in Austin reminds me kind of like of Chicago in the sense that it's a very red state, and you've got this like kind of beacon of kind of liberalism like up in Chicago, but the rest of the state is very conservative. And Texas is pretty similar to that, whereas Austin is kind of that one spot where it's definitely, it leans liberal. So I can see you fitting in pretty well there too.
And they have a great music scene in Austin, right?
They do. And surprisingly, I do like guns. I don't like them in New York City. But I think in Texas, where we have lots of space, I'm okay with that. So yeah, there are things I like about Texas that I think most people wouldn't know I like.
Yeah, I mean, that pool thing though, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's a big thing. That's a big thing for me. Like having a pool.
Do y'all have a pool?
No. And it's like, well,
that's funny because really when we were house hunting, moving from Pennsylvania to here, we only looked at things with like an acre because the whole plan was we're getting a pool. We wanted like to be the spot where the kids want to come hang out, like so have all the friends over and, do the whole pool thing. Limited our search for a house, forever, but then we ended up never getting that pool.
The pool. I tell my mom this. I'm like, you want me to come out to see you on Long Island? It's not even that far. It's like an hour. But I'm like, you don't have a pool. If you had a pool, I'd come more. So get a pool, maybe.
It's true, though. It's true. I mean, the pool is a real magnet to getting people to come over. So yeah, that's cool. Well, good luck with that. When are you moving down there?
January or February. I'm not in a rush. So sometime around then, taking my time.
Yeah, I mean, the homesickness thing might be a thing. We'll see. It's like, because when I took Ali from the East Coast, she had actually I met her in law school. So her father had started a business that happened to be in Illinois. And, I met Ali in law school. So she was kind of familiar with the Midwest. And Chicago's got that reputation. Like I'll never forget. And it's like that thing where, she actually asked me, she's like, are we going to get shot? Like, are there gangsters everywhere? And I'm like, no, man. I'm like that. Like, you're talking about like Al Capone. I mean, like,
I was horrified.
What's crazy is the unsafest I've ever felt was in Philadelphia.
Really? The city of brotherly love?
Yeah, I don't feel much brotherly love there, actually. I find everyone very, like, what people would think New Yorkers are like.
Right.
It's like people in Philly are more like very gruff and blue collar and
Super angry. Like,
angry.
after law school, Allie's father, like, was gonna seed us, like, to start a law firm. So we got out of law school, not knowing a damn thing about practicing law, and she's like, she hits me up because I just passed the Illinois bar. She had gone home after law school, taking the Philly bar, and she's like, my dad's gonna give us some seed money to start a firm. Do you want to come out here? I'd never been to Philly. So I'm like, all right, I guess. So I went out, and it was sight unseen, and like, at that point they hadn't won a championship in a long time, and that is a hardcore sports town.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were just like angry people. Like, they like it. And I think that, and I would realize, because I'd go to sporting events with my buddies that I made out there, and like I'd represent like Chicago shit, and they'd be like, I mean, they were just, I would actually be in fear of my safety because they were like that adamant about their passion for their teams. And I'm like, look, man, it's a game, bro. Like, just reel it in a little bit, because it's a lot that you're bringing to it. So,
wait, I want to hear this story about why she felt most unsafe.
Well, I think, you know what? I was stalked and followed a few times. Here's the thing. In New York, I've always felt safe, right? It's my home.
Right.
I know how to navigate it. It just feels different when understand the people maybe. It's so populated that I never felt like I'm on a dark street by myself. I live in Queens. I'm always around a million people. I don't feel like something's going to happen. But like there, West Philly is where I was living. It is kind of sparse. It gets very dark, and they don't have bars on their windows like we have here. Like, at least no one's breaking in. I had someone try and break into my house. I lived in Philly for 3 months, and like the craziest shit happened. Someone drove down the street blasting a shotgun out the door of the car.
Like
someone tried to break into the apartment.
Investigated your area a little better before you moved.
It was right outside. What's the college there? UPenn.
Oh, okay.
University of Pennsylvania. Yeah, Villanova.
It was UPenn. So UPenn is right in West Philly, and I was right outside the school zone. But it's so interesting. Like, the school zone, there's security. You feel safe. It's very much a campus, and you take a block out of there, and I'm stepping over needles and watching people blast shotguns out of the car. Like,
that might have been the general area where me and my sister were robbed at gunpoint in the car.
Yeah.
So.
Well, considering that story, why are you grilling her about why she was afraid of Philly?
She's like,
I actually forgot about that, and I'm thinking,
Let
me
just say, I've lived like in and around Chicago for a majority of my life, and I've never been robbed at gunpoint. So, I mean,
knock on wood, okay? Like, let's not like take risks here.
No doubt. There's a lot of truth to that. So, all right, I want to kind of dig into what you do. And what you do is, you're an advocate, and you're an advocate for wrongful convictions. You're trying to right wrongs. How did you come to get into that particular area? Like, what drew you to that initially?
So it was actually Suave. It was while I was working on that project. I had just come out of like border reporting and detention center reporting. So the natural move was to go over to DOJ reporting. And Suave was talking to me, about his time in there. And it wasn't like an interview we were doing, but he was talking to me about innocent guys. And it was just something I had never thought of. I wasn't coming from that world, really. I was, talking about people in detention centers. So I was like, oh, yeah, I guess there are innocent people in prison. And he started telling me about this guy, John Brookins, who is from Pennsylvania, from Brooks County. And I still know John today. He's still in prison. He's an innocent man. So he's telling me about John Brookins and what happened to him. And I was just like getting really like bothered. I was like, wow, that's really fucked up. He didn't do this, and he's there for a murder that he obviously didn't do. And then I got lucky and had a friend starting a podcast network and was like, hey, I want to put you on this network. What do you want to do? And seriously, at the time, this was 2019 when we were coming up with the idea, there was no one reporting on wrongful convictions. There was Jason. He just had Wrongful Conviction came out. And I knew that because I wanted that to be the podcast title. So I found Wrongful Conviction, Bob Ruff, Rabia, and them doing Undisclosed. And so I was like, wow, there's a big space here. There needs to be more voices here covering this. And
wow, you've only been doing this since 2019. Damn, girl.
That's what I'm
well,
trying to
I
say.
got lucky again because unlike so much of where I came from with the Maura Murray stuff, where it felt very like competitive and people were very against each other, Jason Flom welcomed me with open arms into the community. I mean, we were basically doing the same thing. And instead of being a competitor, it was like, let's join forces and cover all of these stories together. So yeah, that's what happened.
I love that. Yeah. And, so I'm working with Lauren Pachenko.
Yes.
And we're doing something which it's a wrongful conviction, we think, which kind of brings me to, because it's early, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't one of these cases where, they've been in for 15, 20 years, been, gone through all their PCRAs and been fighting and fighting and fighting. Like, this one kind of came on both of our radars, like individually, like both of us, like the mother had hit both of us up independent of one another. And we happen to be talking about another one that I'm looking into, that Jason's got his fingers into, which is, a controversial one. It's, Christopher Vaughn.
I'm sorry. I laughed at a comment that I saw because somebody said, thanks, Bob, for not wearing that shirt. So I didn't want you guys to think I was laughing at I didn't want you to think I was like laughing at what you said or
dude,
I'm not
I ain't afraid to like fuck with some crazy looking shit.
So. I love it. And so does that person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I so I'm excited about it, and I'm actually going to meet, and Christopher Vaughn is the other thing that I'm working. Like, that's what Lauren had hit me up on. And she's like, look, there's a big movement on this case. And we got some innocence projects looking at it. Flom's looking at it.
Which one was that? Was that Murder in Illinois?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, which is, like it's one of those cases where it's super polarizing because of just the nature of it. It's like people automatically go to Chris Watts type stuff, and this isn't that. So I'm actually going with his current appellate attorney the 6th, November 6th, down to meet Chris in prison. So I'm really excited about it. And much like you, it's a passion play for me. Because we've both been in the criminal justice system for 20 years and we just know what it is, So I'm really excited.
So she was telling us about how she got lucky getting into it. So you were starting to tell us a story.
Me.
Yeah, you said.
I think I was done. I think
I think she had finished it. So and the reason I kind of brought that stuff up with that is I wanted to, because like when the first pod I listened to you on was Murder in Alliance, and like that was, and I love that pod, and I love that pod for the reasons that like I'm concerned about, like going into both these cases because you don't know. You're going in, and if you all haven't listened to Murder in Alliance, it's a great pod. But like you were presented with the situation where like you're going in and you're like, damn, I think this guy's innocent. And then and you're doing it real time. Like, that's what people have to understand. Like, this isn't something that you're producing a year ahead of time. You're real time in it. So like when you start to like uncover things as the story's going and you're like, damn, like, how did you handle that? Because I knew, like, because I was reading and I like when I got to that point in that pod, I'm like, damn, like Maggie's handling this like a champ.
You mean when I had the meltdown?
Yeah, but it was like, it was so real. It was such a real thing because you could tell you cared about it. You know what I mean? And then when you come to a realization, like, wow, maybe this dude's not innocent. You know what I mean? It's like, because that was what Lauren told me with Chris Vaughn. She's like, I don't care which way you come down on it. I just want you to dig into it. You know what I mean? So I wanted to ask you like about that experience with Murder in Alliance. Like how did you handle it mentally and trying to figure out how to handle it on the pod,
I think, handling it with the podcast was actually easier than my actual emotions. So, John and Danny, looking into this case, I know a lot of people probably haven't listened, so I'm not going to give spoilers, but well, I guess we already did. But going into it, we felt pretty strong. Something was messed up. And like there was a lot of police corruption. There was a ton of police corruption. The chief of police botched the case. I mean, it was worthy of looking at. And enough people over 22 years had invested time into David. There were multiple TV shows. And it was like, okay, we're going to dig into this. And as we started digging, they started coming up with a lot of questions. And the difficult thing was there's two people involved in this story. So we actually started thinking like, okay, is Joe the innocent one? And did David set him up? Like there was so much to consider in this. And they started about halfway through the podcast going, we're feeling a bit different. Like we're starting to feel like this isn't looking good for them. We haven't found any new evidence pointing away from them. Anyone that we've talked to hasn't changed their stories. There was literally nothing new, which if it even was going to be a case that goes back to court, as you and I'm sure all your listeners know, we needed something new.
Right.
Nothing. No one changed statement. It was exact same stories. And that's when they started being like, look, I don't think we're going to be able to take this case. Even if he is innocent, we got nothing. We got nothing. There's nothing we can do with it.
Right.
And after we talked to Joe and David is when, they were fully set, like, we can't take this. And I was still in this, like, but what if you guys are wrong? I don't want to let David down. Like, I don't want to let somebody down. It wasn't even like we've put in so much time. It was like, but what if he is innocent? What if he is? And you guys are going to leave? Then, like, what am I? I don't want to leave him too. It was really, really hard. And I knew that all had to go on the podcast because I am a journalist. Transparency, openness, honesty, not being biased, being objective. So I knew that all had to go in.
Yeah.
When I had the meltdown, I was recording, obviously. And it was just a natural instinct to put that in because I also thought it was important for people to know that we're not robots. I'm a human and doing this work affects me.
Yeah.
It affects y'all are defense attorneys. You do this all the time. It's heavy. And I think in order to do it and do it well, you need to feel.
It has to matter to you, right?
It has to matter.
Yeah.
And so it was really devastating. Not only did I question myself and my ability to, spot a case where I thought a guy was innocent and how did I get this so wrong? I felt bad for investing their time. I was not well for, I think that happened in October and it took me through the end of the year to like process what had happened. But it was nice to have the support of listeners too. Yeah. Oh my God, did you just hear my cat scream at me?
Yeah. We've got a big hound that does that. He makes guest appearances all the time too. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. It's like the same thing. Like Alice and I both, in terms of, from the front end of it, in terms of representing people that you develop a relationship with them. You just do. Like if you
I liked him. I mean, that was the sad thing. We really liked Joe, right? Like Joe was, through it all, we knew Joe was like the patsy, whatever it was. This was not his plan to do. I mean, he was a very sad character. And we really liked him overall. Like that was really a sad part. I stayed in touch with Joe afterwards saying like, look, I can't help you with your, case for innocence, but I can help you with parole packets. Like if you apply for parole, like anything like that, I'd be happy to help you. Because I really liked that guy. I don't think if he was out on the street, he would be a danger. I think he wound up in a situation where he was very manipulated by a very evil person.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, and that's kind of like going into these projects where you just don't know. You know what I mean? It's like you're hoping, like you were talking about with like any kind of potential PCRA stuff, it just didn't kind of exist there. And that's, that's obviously a red flag in terms of like, if there's just nothing there, you're kind of like, you're stuck in a situation where like, if the lawyers can't dig it up in terms of, kind of newly discovered evidence that you need in order to get movement, like how are you going to be able to do it? But I mean, it can be done. I mean, like, because lawyers may not go out and dig in terms of interviews with people the same way that you would, I mean, like I think for the most part, lawyers, and that's not to say, because I know Allison's working on a PCRA right now with a guy, and she's pretty active with witnesses and trying to get affidavits and stuff like that. I mean, Ali, in terms of like that work.
Well, so Bob and I, when we were in the like this clinic in school, I couldn't think of in law school, right? That we worked on criminal cases, and there was a case like Bobby Love, that was his name. And we went out and we hit the streets, and like we went out talking to people, and when we started our practice, that was sort of like the way we wanted to do it too. I'm still to this day telling my investigator, I'm like, but because I feel like I'm going to ask better questions. And if you get somebody who is like standoffish or gruff, it doesn't hurt to be a woman sometimes coming at them a certain way. I mean, have you found that to be a benefit for you?
I find that with some of these people, like police officers, they often think I'm stupid, and I think that could be a benefit. Like, it's like, oh, this dumb woman. I'm like, yep, I am a dumb woman. So they wind up saying a lot of shit.
That's so funny. I've said those exact words before, it's just so.
And, watching, I realize that too. Like, I oftentimes try to obviously be very prepared for interviews, but I was watching the investigators, John and Danny does this thing where he plays really stupid. He called it his Columbo. And I know he knows everything, but he'll like mix up a fact or say something wrong because he knows if he acts stupid, they'll want to correct it. And then they start talking and like just saying shit that they probably shouldn't be saying. So
is that a trick that you've tried to implement or ever
I have
had
tried. I'm not as skilled as, a 30-year plus veteran private investigator, but
sounds like an old cop trick, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the key is to get them talking, for certain. I mean, that which is challenging. It's like, I think I've got and I could see that coming from like the perspective of a woman. I mean, I think, underestimating women is chronic and has been going on forever. So like, cause it's true. Allison always says that. It's like she uses, I think on one of our lives recently, she was talking about, she would lean into that underestimation of everybody, because coming into the practice of law, there's still, and I always talk about it, and I think it probably offended me more than her, like when judges would like, or say like Sweetie, like sitting on the bench, and like, to me, it's incredibly disrespectful. And I'd be like, man, does that piss you off that like they're treating you as, some little girl, and instead of, because it's like the practice of law was male dominated for a really long time, and for women to break in, and really have to kind of fight and claw their way into like an area where they're being respected as equals, and I still think that there's ways to go with it, to be honest with you. I mean, like Allison, in your experience, I mean, you don't take any shit from anybody. You know what I mean? It's like you're a bad gauge because you just don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But like for other women that aren't as, like not afraid to, go nose to nose with somebody, I could see it being a different circumstance,
It's funny because I just had one of our friends, and I'm not going to call her out by name because I don't want everyone to figure out who we were talking about. Text me today. She's like, do you find Judge such and such is like really angry and rude towards women? I'm like, absolutely. I mean, at the time, I just kind of thought of it like he must be like that with everybody. But when she said that, then it's like, because it's like you're saying, Bob, I kind of I don't really pay much attention to it because I could, you know what I mean? But once she said that, then I thought about the fact, like, that's the thing that I'm feeling from this judge. I think my response was like, old white men, and especially in old white lawyers, like that's just like Bob was saying, it's never been, they were barristers and, so.
Well, that brings me like to my entire lecture about objectivity in general with journalism. This notion of objectivity was created by old white men whenever journalism started in the fucking 16, 17, I don't know. But it was created by cis hetero straight white men. And we don't exist like that anymore. Journalists look like me. Journalists are trans. Journalists are people of color. And it's like one of those things where when I was working at Latino USA for a while, it was like, well, obviously they're biased on immigration because they're Latino. Like, it's one of those things where if you are who you are, they will call you out on a bias. But where was I even going with this? What were we just, what was that stream of thought? I was like, this brings me to my lecture about objectivity.
Yeah, but right. I think we're talking about, like, to me, it's always about, in terms of the fight that y'all have had to go through.
We were talking about white men, and then I just started.
But like women just trying to get to the point where, like, you're not having to feel like you're a second fucking class citizen, and it's like I always sit there and I'm like, oh my God, like when I just look at factually, like, this country, and I look at like how long it took for women to be able to vote in this country, it's just like, it blows my mind, because I've just
we don't have an equal rights amendment still.
I mean, for real though,
it gets shot down all the time. I don't think people know that there is no equal rights amendment in the Constitution for women.
I know, it's crazy. Which was a document which I love, but was drafted by old white men. You know what I'm saying? It's like I love the principles of it, but it's not necessarily inclusive of everybody. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
were you getting to a point that people think that you can't be unbiased because you're a woman, and you can't be objective?
I think I was really just talking about, or going just about how so many of these systems were created by cis hetero straight white men, and it's all changing, and it's especially changing for women and people of color and queer people, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think there is so much space for us now. And I think, similar to you, Allison, I when people ask me, like, how did you feel about a woman and being in this industry, I guess I just don't pay attention. I'm sure there's been a lot of slights and sweeties and dumb shit, but I'm just so focused on my work and what I'm doing that, like, I just don't give a fuck what you're saying to me. I'm just going to keep going. It doesn't. Right. So, like, I again, maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I've never experienced sexism. Maybe I didn't get a job because of sexism. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know if I didn't. So I think I'm just so focused on doing what I do that it's like, fuck you, I'm going to overcome it anyway.
You guys are like peas in a pod.
Yeah, that's great. I've never really met another woman who's like, whatever, gotta keep going.
That's right. That's what I was saying. Like, I wasn't bullshitting in the beginning. It wasn't like, it's like two powerful women. I just know my wife is like a badass, and I know that you're and it's like, you guys have you have the ability to lead. It's like womankind needs y'all, because they need your voices out there to do the dirty work, because there's a lot of women that can't navigate through the world like y'all do. You know what I'm saying? And like, those are the ones that you're fighting for, in terms of, because, like, look, I've made my position very clear. The time for men is over. I'm ready for y'all to run shit. Like I just am, like, all of it, like, we've had a long run and not necessarily a good one, as men. I think it's time that we can take a step back. And I realize that there's going to be a lot of men out there like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? But it's gospel. Like, the record.
It's so funny because I feel like it's such a, women should lead. If someone says something like that, and then men, especially the specific men we're talking about, white men, are like, why do you want to bring us down? Why is saying women should be leaders mean that men are brought down? That's not what we're saying. That's not the, if you're hearing we need more women in leadership, that men should be brought down, there's something wrong with you if that's what you're hearing.
Right. No,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Right. You're the problem.
Yes, you are the
That's
problem.
way
You're
think
clearly
you're
not
the problem.
understanding.
Exactly. Yeah, because my thing, like I have a pretty simple philosophy in life, and in terms of like I stay out of the politics side of it. Like my thing is just equality. Like I don't give a shit what it is. If we're talking about race, color, creed, religion, sexual preference, I don't care. If we're all just equal, we're starting from a way better place. Because it's super simple. If everyone just has the same opportunity, we're living in a much different world. But getting to that point is the challenge, and it's like it's just a battle. It's a battle to the death, and I'm sure it's certainly not going to go away in my lifetime. Hopefully, Ali and I have 3 daughters. We raise our girls to be strong. Like I tell my daughters, I'm like, don't ever take shit off of anybody, especially a man. Ever.
I think maybe that's how me and Allison are. It's like maybe I just don't take the shit, so I'm not like it's just not.
Feeling it. Right.
Yeah, I'm not
registering.
like internalizing it and getting mad. I'm just like, what the fuck ever. I'm not gonna take it. I'm not gonna listen to it.
Right.
And that's done pretty well for me, I suppose.
I mean, clearly.
And
So
Laura wants to know what your kitty's name is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I need to address this. So this is Date. She's gonna scratch me. She hates being held. This is Daisy. She's 17. We're actually right now deciding if she can make the move to Texas or not. So
oh dang.
She's been my best friend since I was in college. So she was in UMass with me. I have 2 others running around somewhere, but this is the queen. So
yeah, that's the OG.
That's why she just sits here screaming at me like
she's like, I need the attention. It's attention time. When you come home, it's about me. Don't you?
But yes, anyone who wants to talk about cats, I have 3 cats. I'm obsessed with cats. There should be a 4th cat, but I have to move first. But something else I was gonna say about women. I don't want to turn into like men bashing. So we're just gonna say what I was gonna say about women is there's this whole true crime scandal situation happening right now in my world. And the people who have come forward to speak out and to do the right thing and support and show solidarity, all been women. Yeah. Every man has been silent.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty tight with Josh Hallmark. So I was getting some, and he was there. Like,
are we going to talk about it? Because I have no clue what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what
maybe
talking about because like Maggie was out of the fray of it all. Like she wasn't like in the middle of the drama per se, but I mean, she's in the orbit of it. So like, but Josh was there for Obsessed Fest, so I was kind of getting some blow by blows. And it was different drama, like the stuff with like Tara and Ellen was going on, and that was crazy. And it's like I'm texting with Josh, and he's like, "Oh, this is like," because he's like, I don't sense like at the beginning of it, he's like, I don't sense any drama at all. And Josh is like,
I feel we need some background, maybe not names or I mean, like,
okay, so I'll give a very brief summary. It's also funny because there's a lot of people in this chat too who are like, are we going to talk about the elephant in the room? Which that's in case you were wondering, Allison.
I was like, what? I
was at a true crime fest this weekend, Obsessed Fest. It was the network I used to be with that Murder and Alliance and Unjust and Unsolved are on. And there has been a lot of allegations about egregious workplace abuses and a toxic environment. So we all went into this fest kind of being like, what's the energy going to be like? Day 1 went off without a hitch. It was fucking great. Everyone had a great time. Day 2, I think names are fine. It's out there. Tara Newell of Dirty John fame, who killed Dirty John. That is how she describes herself. It is her bio.
It's a true story.
She accosted Ellen Marsh, the host of I Think Not, in an elevator, and it led to a prolonged incident in which management took no accountability. They did nothing to make sure anyone was safe. There was it was an entirely botched situation. And now there are legal issues and lawsuits and blah, and blah, and blah. So the only people who came forward to say, this is so wrong how everything was handled, like we should not have been at a professional convention and have been accosted, had no accountability. None of us talent we were finding everything out on Reddit.
Yeah.
No one came to us to say like, hey, the situation's been handled, everything's okay. So it was a real professional disaster, actually. And it could have been dangerous.
Yeah.
So the people who came forward to say like, you know what, this was not handled properly and we stand with Ellen, all women. The men have texted to show their support.
Wow.
which is bullshit.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. That is.
And I'm not saying, and I'm not saying everyone needs to come out and have an opinion on something. That's not true. But if you're going to text that you support your colleague, why can't you come out and say, I support Ellen, this was not handled well?
Right. Exactly. And it was like, because I had been at, I had told you, like, I was going to CrimeCon and like Tara was there. And,
oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like, and I had seen her at the True Crime Podcast Festival, which was in Austin, or maybe it was Dallas. I think we were in Austin. I can't remember. It was either Austin or Dallas, like right before that, like a couple months before it.
Okay.
And she was there too. And yeah, it's like kind of the whole way that thing shook out was strange.
Didn't need to happen. Didn't need to happen.
No,
if there was an incident, mischief management should have immediately swooped in. They should have taken her off the premise, investigated, informed all the other hosts. This is dealt with. They should have informed guests, and they covered and covered and covered and lied and lied and lied. And it
got pretty bad, this accostation.
Yeah.
The situation, the accostation itself, I don't think was bad. And I think that according to what we've been hearing, Tara wanted to apologize right away and was told not to by management. So the entire thing was made worse by management.
Yeah,
and I feel for Tara, actually.
Yeah, I mean, she's a super nice girl, you know, and I don't know. Obviously, there were different dynamics going on. So it's like. And like I didn't have a side, a position, you know what I mean? I was just kind of getting like third-hand knowledge. But I mean, just anybody like in that setting, you know, when you got paying customers there that are all there to see.
The thing, they all felt like, what the fuck is going on? Because that's the thing. Ellen and Joey had to cancel their meet and greet because they felt unsafe. They refused to remove Tara and her boyfriend from the premise, who literally just accosted her in an elevator. And she was like, fuck you guys, I'm not doing my thing then if you're not removing the person that's making me feel unsafe. And then listeners were people who were attending were pissed, who paid a lot of money. So now people are getting refunds. The whole thing has been
nightmare.
Actual people are calling it like Firefest. This podcast, Let's Go to Court. I don't know if you listen to them. They're really great. They called it Woodstock 99. Like, it's just been
all shit you don't want to be associated with in any way, shape, or form. I don't know that there's anything worse than the Firefest. I mean, Woodstock 99 was bad for certain, but that Firefest was necessary.
Firefest is bad. Yeah.
And it was bad because we had a friend whose production company was fireworks, right?
Yeah. Chris.
So everybody was like, was this you? What? But anyway, I mean,
I mean, he put on some big shows. Like and he was like a New Orleans based cat who, like, you know, like in the music industry, he had put some pretty big stuff together. So like when that whole Firefest thing happened, because that's like literally what he called his shit. Like he'd be putting he actually had a Firefest down like during Jazz Fest in New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
Every year.
A lot of people are like, is that you, dude? And I'm like, he's like, do I need to make a statement, like a press release to just differentiate between? So yeah, no.
So can I ask Maggie something, because we're like getting I'm not saying we're wrapping up. I'm just saying we're getting to 48 minutes, and I would love to know something where it's not going to be like a spoiler alert or spoiler that you can tell us about, you know, that like as far as your journalism, you know, progression, or a case that hits you hard, or, you know.
Yeah. So actually, this is a great announcement for anyone that knows anyone in the Pennsylvania area who does post-conviction. I do have a guy named Ralph Stokes. He was convicted under Roger King, which, Ali, you probably know of Roger King. He's one of the most notorious DAs probably in this country, but especially Pennsylvania. He worked under Lynn Abraham, who was like the maiden of death as the prosecutor, because she put more people on death row than any other prosecutor in Philly, maybe Pennsylvania, I can't remember, definitely Philly. So Ralph has been on death row for 40 years for a crime he didn't commit. He's now in his 60s. He is dying. And he has federal prosecutors right now who only care about getting him off of death row. They don't care about his innocence. So that is something I'm always working on. If anyone knows anyone in Pennsylvania, I really need to help Ralph. Yes, it was a Philly case. Larry Krasner is very aware of him, but Krasner can't do anything until the conviction review unit gets his case, and his lawyers are refusing to submit it to the conviction review unit right now because they are horrible lawyers. So there's that. But in terms of like what I'm working on, I mean, that's something I'm always working on. I will not be okay if Ralph dies in prison. But I am working on another case in Kentucky that I'm working with CNN on. And CNN just put out their article at the same time we put out a one-off podcast episode on it. So you guys can listen. It's on the Wrongful Conviction feed. And the guy's name is Quincy Cross. And this is a fascinating case out of Kentucky. And you guys will love this. What's probably going to get him out of prison is a receipt for a $35 dildo.
Man, the dildo receipt.
The dildo receipt has been found, and it turns out that the Kentucky State Police and the Kentucky Bureau of Investigation were putting young girls, underage girls, in witness protection, and the receipts that turned up were for dildos. So the witnesses that put this man in prison for a murder he did not commit were allegedly sleeping with the prosecutorial team.
Wow. Oh man, that sounds like a good one.
I mean, it's like, it's so important what y'all do, because there is so much of America who still thinks like the whole police prosecution are like they're good, they're fighting for good, and it's like breaking through that mentality is next to impossible. And you know, it's just like crazy when you hear stuff like that, and then you think about all of the people that are in prison on the word of some shit like that.
Mm-hmm. And you guys know, and your listeners know, once you're in, it's almost impossible to get out. So it's like he goes in on the flimsiest, shittiest evidence. There are literal videos, interview videos with the Kentucky State Police where the girl is literally saying, I wasn't there. And then they're like, okay, but say this. Like, they are giving it's one of the craziest cases I've seen. Quincy has done almost 20 years.
Man.
No. So the murder happened in 2000, but he didn't go to prison until 2007. So 2007 he's
still in prison, this guy, or no?
Yes, but he has a great attorney right now with the Kentucky Innocence Project. Miranda Hellman, shout out. She's super young and fucking talented as hell. And I think this is like her first case. I don't want to speak for her, but I know she is green. That I do know. And man, her filings are incredible. I mean, it's just, this case is out of control. So yeah, you guys should definitely check out the CNN article on Quincy Cross and check out the Wrongful Conviction episode on Quincy Cross. The dildo is not in either of those because that's going to be saved for the podcast for next year. Yeah. But it's exciting. We've been in Kentucky. CNN is documenting making the podcast. So it's been fun.
That's awesome.
So were you part of actually finding this receipt?
No, I was not actually. This one is not as much as my investigation. It's more storytelling of what Miranda's been doing, but it's nice. You know, we're working with her. So it's a lot of, she's sending us evidence, she's sending us filings. So it's a lot of back and forth, and it's really nice to work with the attorneys like that.
Yeah. And that's like, it's nice that she's young. Like, I don't consider that
Yeah.
to be a handicap because, when you're doing it for a long time,
You get
and you
jaded
take the
eventually.
gut, yeah, you take the gut punches one after another, you start to realize like she's still Alice and I when we came out of law school. We're like, we're gonna change the fucking world.
Yeah,
We're
she
gonna
definitely does. I mean, I see her posts on Instagram. She's like fucking filed today, ready to get like she's,
yeah,
she's
she's
awesome. And
there.
I do believe she's gonna get this guy out of prison.
Well, I'm rooting for her for sure, for sure.
And
Yeah,
we just had our very first client ever whose son just was going from law firm to law firm on the streets of Philadelphia 22 years ago, or whatever the case may be. And the Princeton Innocence Project helped. So I don't know. I've got a contact there. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the guy, he's helped a lot of people. So I can find out what, who in
Yeah, that would be
Philadelphia
great.
he's
You know
found
what's
the most
crazy
helpful.
is Kathleen Zellner, we spoke with her about the case 2 years ago. She FaceTimed with us. She wanted it, and she said it's an incredible case, and the evidence is all there. I mean, if there was someone who actually was doing their job, he could be out. And that was her whole thing. She looked at it and was like, we're going to have him out, get the media, like tell him to fire his lawyers. I'm coming on. And then she ghosted.
yeah.
Wow.
So we're doing a deep dive into Avery now. And like
I've been listening.
yeah, we're doing a deep dive. Like I got sidetracked with the whole Delphi thing, just because it's been insane, and I kind of want to I want to end that like this with you because I know you'll hit me up. You'll be like, what the fuck's going on with Delphi? And I'm like, yo, man, it's crazy.
I know. I don't even think Allison knows that I text you. Like every time I listen to you guys, I'm like, what the fuck? I just like text you random shit when I'm listening to you guys.
Yeah, in that so with the Avery thing, I'm starting to get the sense because like that whole convicting a murderer thing came out, and it really wasn't. It wasn't a piece that was done to really kind of dig up new evidence that showed that he was guilty. It was really a piece to just say, okay, this is all the shit they misrepresented in making a murderer. So
Right.
it was
They did some of their own misrepresentations, though.
I mean, they always do.
Right.
That's the thing with documentaries is it's like people don't understand. It's like you go into it, hoping that, that they're going to do it ethically, but that creative license shit, where you're beholden to whoever's buying your product and they're saying, well, we gotta up this story a little bit. We need to do X, Y, and Z and, change some facts around and add some stuff. We need to add drama. We need, you know what I mean? And like that, it's not what a doc's supposed to be. And, so that's really what it was. Cause Alice and I mean, we're going to dig through everything and then we're going to reach our own conclusion. And, and in Zellner's, I mean, her office, frankly, she's got an office 15 minutes from our house.
Do you know her? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been in the same courtrooms at the same time, know each other that way, but I'm not. Bob's much more of like a very friendly, wants to engage with everyone kind of person. And I'm sort of like, if you're my people, and otherwise I kind of just, so, we didn't know each other like that, but yeah, we've been in the same courtrooms at the same
and I don't know. I don't know what she's doing on this Avery thing. Cause like
she's still on it.
She is, but it's like she's been awfully quiet on it. And like it's one of those things where, cause she's like, her thing is if I at any point during my investigation or when I'm working on a case realize that the person's not innocent, I'm out.
Or so she says, right?
But I mean, that's what she says. There
was one thing when I was going through her new evidence. One of the things that she put in there was something like, and I hope people aren't going to get upset and hold me to it because I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was something like you could see this key that looked like the fob
right
on the counter in a news interview. And she puts like a picture there, right? And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, am I blind? And then I think I pulled up the actual video where it came from and like watched and I'm like, there is nothing remote, like I don't see where that assertion
Right.
was made. I mean, that was the only thing sort of like that I was like kind of shocked about. But
Interesting.
you know, and it could just be that she got really busy and that's why she ghosted. But
yeah, but you still call somebody.
yeah.
And let me say, we emailed to the point of being obnoxious, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. You just told a man that's done 40 years in prison to fire his fucking attorneys because you were taking the case and you ghosted. Fortunately, we told him, don't file the attorneys until you sign paperwork with her. Thank God we did that. But
yeah, wow.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
that loses my respect to tell a man on death row for 40 years, I'm going to take the case, tell him, and then ghosts. He had his hopes up. Ralph had his fucking hopes up.
And it's that kind of that thing where, you know, she's been doing it for a minute and she kind of got big doing it, you know, and, you know, it's like that thing where you worry about people like reading their own press clippings and they're not, you know, they're not doing the work anymore. Like, I mean, she's got a legion of people that do like the actual digging and like the actual writing, and she's kind of like the face of it all. That's not to say that she doesn't work the cases, but you know, when you got like that kind of staff, you know that they're the ones that are doing the heavy lifting in terms of drafting documents and things like that. So, all right, hold on. Like, let's see, Mags, we got, I want to throw a couple questions up. So
yeah, you guys throw them.
So Jennifer says, hi, Maggie. I talked to you at Obsessed Fest about Jamie Snow. Would it be okay for you to tell Bob and Ali about him, especially since it's an Illinois wrongful conviction? So tell us about Jamie Snow if you can.
Yeah. Do you guys know Jamie Snow?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's a crazy one. But also really quick, for some reason, I can't type in the chat right now. It stopped me. It's not sending. So if someone could actually look up Ralph Stokes, the Unjust and Unsolved episode, and link to it, please. I want everyone to listen to it. If someone could pop that in there.
Can one of the mods please do that? Throw it in the chat.
I'm sure they're on it, babe.
Yeah, Maggie. Like
mods.
Yeah, what we can't do, like, because we're all in StreamYard. It like they're all on.
Oh, maybe that's why it wasn't working. Okay. Yeah. Ralph Stokes, Unjust and Unsolved. But so Jamie Snow, this is a crazy one. Jamie's a great guy. I actually got him a cameo for Christmas once of Dee Snider, and it like made his life. He's a rocker. He's such a sick dude. But this happened so it was a murder of an 18-year-old boy at a gas station. He was shot in Bloomington, Illinois in 1991. 10 years later, Jamie Snow is convicted for it. There was no fucking evidence. It was based on witness identification, very sketchy identification. Jamie has a great team. He's been doing his own podcast from inside.
Wow.
He's on the way. He's on the way, and I think a lot of media and just pushing for more people to post about him and show up. And I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting your name, friend who talked about Jamie Snow during the wrongful conviction panel. But people like her just going around and spreading the word is so helpful. And Jamie was home. He had an alibi. He was home with his children on fucking Easter Sunday when this boy was murdered.
Dang.
He left to get milk for 15 minutes, and they say that's when he commit this murder.
Dang. Yeah, I'll look into that one for sure.
So anything else that you've got on the horizon or you want to tell the people about or have the mods put up links for?
Okay, great. Did we get the link?
Yeah, we got
that links
Great.
in. That links in.
Great. Yeah, Ralph Stokes. Everyone needs to know about Ralph Stokes. Like, I do not need a 60-year-old innocent man dying on death row in Pennsylvania. So
I mean, I don't want to like put Ali up for it, but I mean, she is licensed in PA. I'm just saying.
No, my license is in. I have to.
I mean, you'd have to do all your CLEs to get out.
Well, because I tried to do it because the guy that I was speaking of earlier, who was our first case, he was just getting out, and he asked me to represent him at the parole board. So I went to the bar and I was like, you know, what do I need to do? And they were like, it was extensive, like to get back to becoming active. Like I'm still licensed in Pennsylvania, but I'm not active, so I can't go into a courtroom, but I definitely think that there's there's something through that connect that definitely might be able to help, and like you're doing now, getting the word out there for people to listen. It's
so interesting because Krasner and the team at the Conviction Review Unit, I forget who's leading it now. It changed recently, but they're basically like, get his case here. This case is here. Like they know his case. They know it's a Roger King case. There's been, do not quote me on this number, I want to say 7, but at least five Roger King cases that have been overturned. I feel like it's a much higher number, but it's known. If it was a Roger King case, he was probably making up, planting evidence, stuff like that. And they're prioritizing those cases. So if he had fucking attorneys that were doing their job, he could be in a really good place right now.
Yeah, it sounds like he needs to get out. It sounds like
he needs to get rid of the federal defenders. Do you guys have experience with federal defenders?
Yeah, I mean,
I actually had the federal defenders in Philadelphia specifically were very helpful to me when I was, because again, our client's name was Muti, and his son came to us like we had just started our practice. So I was like way outside of my like world as far as like what the next steps are. And sorry, it's like I could hear Bob upstairs, and I couldn't tell if I was like lagging. But in any event, like one of the federal defenders was very helpful to me. But again, that's 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're not. I think particularly in these innocence cases, that's not what they do. They're not innocence defender. Their literal job is to get people off death row. They're defending people on federal death row, and that's what they want to do. Interestingly enough, Pennsylvania has a moratorium on the death penalties, so Ralph's not dying anytime soon, and he actually likes being on death row because he's a fucking 60-something-year-old man and does not want to be in Gen Pop. So he very much does not want to get off of death row. He wants to be found innocent. But every time they meet with him, that's what they say. They're like, take the deal, get off death row, take the deal. And he's like, but what about the guy who actually did the crime? So that's where...
Well, they're actually trying to push him to accept a deal so that he can get off death row.
Yeah.
And there's a moratorium.
And then he knows once he goes to Gen Pop, they don't have him anymore. So then he doesn't have any representation. So we would like to get rid of them before it even gets to that point.
Yeah, it's such a frustrating battle, it just is, like, in terms of being able to make any headway. And it's like, under Law for Good, y'all, with Gilbert King and the whole Leo Schofield thing and Bone Valley, it's like that. It's like you hear stories like that, where they got another guy confessing to it and the dude's still in the joint. It's such a, that's what I was talking about, like in the intro, because you just take these gut punches because your hopes are raised and you're like, oh my God, like this guy's actually get out.
Once you get to the Fed, so I'm assuming it was a state conviction and now he's in the federal route, or was it federal from the beginning?
You guys would know that law better than me. It was a murder.
You
know what? I know why it was federal, because a postal service person was murdered.
Oh, so it was a federal case, because sometimes your state, you run your route state and then you can jump over to federal before you hit the wall. And I didn't know which route.
So this is really interesting. This case is actually interesting for anyone from Pennsylvania, Philly. The murder happened, it was back in the 80s. Yeah, he's been on death row 40 years. So back in the 80s, it was a murder that took place at Smokin' Joe's restaurant. Smokin' Joe is in the Boxer. It was a triple. Joe Frazier, yeah. So it was a triple homicide at his restaurant, and the postal worker walked in during the homicide. So the postal worker was also murdered, which made it a federal case.
Wow. And they pinned it on him at his restaurant?
Ralph. It wasn't Ralph's restaurant. It was Joe Frazier's restaurant. It was called Smokin' Joe's. Ralph was a former employee, and the reason he got roped into it is because one of the managers, before she was murdered, they were all murdered in the walk-in freezer. before she was shot, she said something like, the guy in the ski mask looks like Ralph's eyes. It was literally the smallest, like Ralph's eyes. And then they were like, who's that? And then they found him. And
wow, dang, Ralph Stokes.
Ralph Stokes. Yeah.
Man.
He was just a little boy in West Philly riding horses, and he's done 40 years on death row.
And you know what the biggest impact that I hope, one of the biggest, I should say, I hope the work that you're doing is going to do is like change the mindset of the jurors.
Yes.
Finally have people looking a little for like, how the hell you get a conviction on somebody saying, I think those eyes behind a mask look familiar, is because it's just the trappings of the courtroom and the power of the state. And people are just like, yep, you got him, you got him, you got him. So like this kind of, you know, coverage and this kind of work and everything that you're doing by educating people will help defendants down the line.
Do you guys find that jurors are more woke these days?
No, not yet. I still don't. Not really. You know, it's like,
they're not listening to my podcast.
Right. Like, I mean, jurors mirror society. You know what I mean? And there's just huge amounts of like you have, and like you and I have texted about, like, you know, like Brett and I are on, from the prosecutors, on diametric opposite sides of this whole thing. And he's a prosecutor through and through, you know, and it's like they lean into Occam's razor, and it's like, you know, if you're going to come up with any kind of alternate theory, it's a conspiracy theory. And I'm like, no, man, it's not. Sometimes it's not Occam's razor. Sometimes you just got the wrong dude. You know what I mean? And like, that's what I'm worried about with Richard Allen, you know. And so to Ali's point, you know, we've been accustomed for as long as I've been alive, you know, when somebody gets arrested on something, it's the state's narrative, it's their theory of the case, and that's all it is, because none of it's been vetted. But that's put out to the public, and that sits out there and that stews for years as this case is pending and working its way towards trial. And that's the only story you get. So when you see a case like Delphi, which is what like sucked me into this thing, like when they dropped that memo, I like, from the defense attorney's perspective, and I don't care what anybody says about it, it blew my mind, because it was the first time I had seen the defense try to literally even the playing field.
I loved hearing you talk about that, because I didn't even realize, you know, like, it was just one of those things, I just didn't realize how significant it was that never happens. You're right. You only hear the prosecutor side.
Right. And
as soon as the defense ever tries to even the playing field, now all of a sudden we're violating the code of ethics. And speaking of a case, we're trying to influence a jury. And it's like, does the entire system not see how like ridiculous that concept is, that the prosecution can go out on the news circuit, you know, all the time, put everything out there, and somehow the defense has to be hushed. It's like, no, the whole point of everything being open is that people are supposed to see and be involved. And, you know, but even without just the narrative thing, it's still that mindset that most people still hold. If the police have arrested you, you've probably done something wrong.
Yes.
And that's
the other idea too that I hate is, well, he was a gang member. If they didn't do that, he did something else.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous.
Not what we're talking about at all.
Right. That goes to Bob and I when we, again, were in that clinic in law school, and it was a case Bob was working on, like a serial killer guy. I think it might have been before the moratorium was in. I don't know. But so I knew some facts of the case, and we're like at a reading breakfast, and he always got the newspaper, which I typically never read, but you know, so we're like reading this story, and I start to add, like, we start to put like pieces together that this sounds like the timeline of like the guy, and you know, he had definitely committed multiple murders, but you've got one that now he didn't commit. And isn't it important to find the person that did, or that there was like someone else still out there? I forget what the.
That's why I made the name of the podcast Unjust and Unsolved, because I think people just not that they don't realize. I think it's just one of those things you're not thinking about, that when we have a wrongful conviction, the real perpetrator, oftentimes fucking murderer and rapist, is still out there murdering and raping people.
Right.
I could not say it more, that the only way that justice is done is if you get the right dude being man or woman, whatever the case. Like there is no justice that's done if you've got the wrong person convicted. The victim hasn't gotten justice, their family hasn't gotten justice, and certainly the wrongfully convicted person has not gotten justice. And it's like that concept is really, really hard to drive into people's minds. You know what I mean? And it's like we have to look at these things critically. That's why, like I was talking to you, like I'm extremely concerned that Richard Allen is going to be one of your subject matters on wrongful convictions, because it's just the feeling that I'm getting. I mean, when she stripped these two lawyers, his lawyers of choice, and like one of the lawyers tried to call her on it, like at the middle of the hearing, he's like, "You're just upset about the memo, that we put the memo out there." And she got real upset. She's like, "I'm not upset about the memo. I didn't even mention the memo. I didn't talk about where did I talk about the memo?" She got like defensive like that, like literally.
But
And
see,
he's
this
like,
is great that you're there bearing witness to this and telling people about it. And I think, in terms of correcting wrongful convictions and preventing them, that is what needs to be done.
100%.
I actually just thought, go ahead.
No, you go. No one wants
No,
to
you go. I was going to change the topic, so go.
Oh, like, but like that case is just like at this point, it's like it's just ingrained in my brain. Like I'm having a hard time concentrating on anything else, just because it's like just the way it's all evolving and like in front of us, like to the world's watching that case. Yeah. And this judge is just like, in my opinion, has gone rogue. But you've got this side where people are like, hey, you know what? These guys did wrong. They leaked the crime scene photos. I'm like,
so punish the defendant. Like, it's just crazy.
That's it. Like, cause like whatever you want to say about these two guys, the one thing that I know definitively straight from the horse's mouth is that they believe that he's innocent. And I said it on the live last night. This is what it looks like for attorneys that believe their client is innocent. This is the shit that they will do. This is the shit that they have to do in order to fight the power of the system, because the system, they have the money, they have the resources, they have law enforcement, they have it all. And these defendants have nothing. They've got us, and that's it.
I think this Delphi is going to be like a case study in law schools, because it starts with the two young, pretty white girls that get murdered in a brutal way. So, of course, everyone's up in arms, and this is a case that must be solved. They get the guy, and then it's just crazy. It's crazy. It has everything. Like,
it's got everything. And like from the procedural side of it, it's like I've never seen a case like it. I mean, Allison and I went through a similar battle in Omaha, and it was like, it still didn't even reach the level of this. Like they removed Allison from that case because we were fighting, and Allison's a fighter, and she was papering the fuck out of it. And, she made an extrajudicial statement to the press about our experts' opinion on the DNA. And she said something as simple. And we were just trying to even the playing field, because they had been convicting our guy in the press for 3 years, period. And it was true that when she's talking about like fireside chats, like it's like the prosecutor in his house sitting in front of his fireplace talking about how our client's guilty before trial. I'm like, man.
You had the governor on the news because they were trying to change the death penalty and saying that they needed to reinstate the death penalty because they've got people like Anthony Garcia waiting, and he hadn't even been convicted yet. He hadn't been to trial yet. And I was like, what in the world is happening here?
So I've seen people post about preventing wrongful convictions. And I also want to give Jason Flom a shout out, who I think should have sainthood.
Me too.
But he's trying to do that work. And Jason is so humble and does it all really behind the scenes. Like, what you see him doing isn't even a quarter of what he's doing. And I do know that he was reached out to pretty recently by a defense attorney saying, look, I got these 3 guys, 3 black boys that alleged to have beat up a white kid during a drug deal. I don't think it happens. There's surveillance video, but they don't have the money to get it and get it looked at. Jason said, whatever you want. He got them the money. They looked at it. The boys got off before they even went to trial.
Man,
didn't fucking happen.
That's
Wow.
great. Yeah, he's that guy though. Like that's why I'm saying like Flom is like, like he's a dude I fanboy over because like he just he made his money and then he decided to dedicate his life to this. It's like
he is an icon, and I am so lucky to work with him and know him. And I just, there's not many people I say that about, but that man is really special.
Yeah, he's legit. He's as legit as they come. He's a doer. He's a doer for sure. So all right, this has been.
Well, actually, I wanted to say really quick.
You can say on. We're no rush.
Yeah, we're not. We just don't want to. Bob will keep going. So it's
no. We will all go because I also have work to do. But I did want to tell you guys this because I think you would love it. Speaking of Jason Flom. And speaking of the legal system, I realized this is what I wanted to say about everything being founded by white guys. The new podcast by his daughter, Allison Flom, called, oh my God, Erased, the murder of Elma Sands.
Can we put thingies up about that, guys? Go on.
Yeah, it's called Erased, the Murder of Elma Sands by Allison Flom. Fucking incredible. It is about the first murder trial in the United States.
Ooh.
And the defense attorneys were Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr.
Wow.
They defended the case together. It was about the murder of a woman named Elma Sands, and the entire thing, our entire justice system was built on sexism.
Totally.
Pretty much. So I think you guys should listen to it. It's great. It's a reenacted piece. Allison Williams from like Get Out, and I think she was in Megan recently. She plays Elma's cousin. It's really fun and
I'm on that.
So informative. It's about the founding of the justice system in this case. Literally, they read the transcripts from the case where they're like making up the laws as they happen.
Wow. Yeah, I'm all over that. All right.
Yeah.
The mods will throw that definitely if they have it.
Yeah. And let me know after you listen. I'm obsessed. I'm like Allison. I'm so jealous. I wish I made this podcast, but
it sounds super dope. All right. So is there anything else you wanna shout out there? Get us to throw up? Like I'm in no way trying to rush you off. I just
I'm not rushing either. I know, speaking of Jamie Snow, that was an unjust and unsolved case. There's another one actually I talk about all the time, Nikki Zinger. She's in Arkansas. She's also done 30 something years. Very obviously did not commit the crime. We do not have an attorney for her. She had investigators. Their organization folded, and now she has no attorneys. The Midwest Innocence Project wants to take her case. She's obviously innocent, but they have a conflict of interest because her co-defendant was represented by them during the clemency. So the Innocence Project that wants to take her case can't take her case. So she's really stuck too. She's in her 60s and also very likely will die in prison. So anyone in Arkansas, if you know any defense people in Arkansas, that would be really helpful. And you can listen to her case on Unjust and Unsolved. And I'm actually doing it again for Wrongful Conviction.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. That's amazing. Well, you're an amazing human. You're doing amazing work.
You guys are too. Defense attorneys. We need more.
We're just, it's like I always just try to let people know. I mean, and I say it all the time. I mean, we're defending the principles of the Constitution, not prosecutors or law enforcement. I mean, we're protecting the rights of the people. Like people don't understand that. People tend to not like defense attorneys because of how we're portrayed on documentaries and all. Every true crime thing that you watch, it's like you're hearing from the prosecutors and the cops.
Well, it's funny too, because every trial transcript I read, the guy's in prison, and it's a lot of times because the defense really fucking sucked.
Right.
In these trial transcripts with crook prosecutors and just like half asleep, drunk defense attorneys.
Right.
Well, and it's just because so many people are afraid to go to trial. And they're not doing the full investigation, and then probably just assume a lot of their clients are guilty, and just try to get them to take a deal. Because when I had my niece asked me, she was like, so, but what do you do? Like, let's say the guy's guilty and you know he's guilty and he's really, really bad. Like, why are you going to try to, get him out of jail? And I was like, well, if that's the case, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to make sure that his charges are in line with what he actually did, and do my best to get him, the appropriate amount of jail time and the best deal that he can, and hope that he can, try to make change in his life, things like that. But there is truth to that. You're not going to go to trial on something where your guy is like clearly guilty and going to lose, unless it's like an extreme situation. You've got no control over the client. I mean, most of the times you can be like, look, the evidence says you did it. Now, if the person's like insistent that they didn't do it, and that's like a different story. But it's just kind of like the picture is wrong, because what people, when you're in it, like you are, know, it's like, someone will be like, how come I've got 7 charges for this? I only did this one thing they're accusing me of. And I was like, well, they're charging it in different ways, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And they throw the book at people. So even when someone is guilty as sin, you still need a good defense attorney we're not talking about murderers and things like that. We're talking about your, everyday drug crime, whatever the crime is, to try and fight to get you the best sentence that they can, and to make sure that, so
everything goes on, honestly, also legally. If you could have a fucking murderer that if the whole process doesn't go down correctly, they could be out. They could be out.
Exactly. And there's shitty everything. There's shitty prosecutors, there's shitty defense attorneys, there's every profession has shitty people, and it's like those are the things where, like you said, when you start digging in and you're looking at wrongful convictions, I would hazard to guess that more often than not, it was a shitty criminal defense attorney
always
as the result of why they're in there, as opposed to, I mean, that's not to say that there's not crooked prosecutors out there, but, and that's what I'm always trying to tell people, like the weight that you have, if you care as a defense attorney or somebody's liberties at stake, that's like, you need that.
Right. If you don't feel that anymore, get the hell out. Exactly.
Because otherwise your client ends up in prison, because that's like for Alice and I, we actually give a shit. So like the weight that we would feel in terms of like when somebody's liberty and or life is at stake, but those are the people you want. Those are the people that you want representing defendants. Number one.
Yeah.
Make sure if you have the like, and my father always said, like the worst possible client to ever have is the innocent man, because it puts all of the pressure on you, and it's terrifying. It's a terrifying prospect, because that you are the last line of defense, literally, before, that you're the only thing that can stop this guy from going to prison if they're actually innocent. And it's a huge amount of pressure, and it's a tough gig. It really is a tough gig.
Defense attorneys are doing the Lord's work. I mean, I could go on forever about how we need more defense attorneys, because y'all are way overworked, and so many defense attorneys are not in private practice and way underpaid. So you guys are doing the Lord's work. And I also just would like to add that prosecutors are elected, in case anyone didn't know that. So you have a actual say in who is prosecuting cases where you live. And it is in your interest to elect progressive prosecutors.
It is.
And like judges get reelected in almost every state and almost every county. You just have to look at those parts of your ballot that you never look at.
Yeah, there's an election right now in New York for prosecutors. So I am all over that.
Prosecutors are often, the biggest problem is no one runs against someone. Yes. You get some shithead in there, or as Bob would say, shitbird, and then nobody runs against them. And, that's so much change can happen just by that. Like, we, the people, do have some power, you could get a grassroots thing going and, effectuate change locally.
Yeah, because it's like our county, we finally got a prosecutor in, like after almost 20 years of practice.
Happens to be a woman
who like
decided to put mental health first, and we got a mental health program in the county. It's like that.
Legit.
Wow.
I remember one day being in court and they bring this guy in and he's clearly not sane. And like the prosecutors and the public defenders are like snickering. And then like when he leaves and I'm not even quiet about it, I was like, what is wrong with everyone? Did we all not just see that's a mentally ill man? Like this is not funny. This is not right.
Right.
And it's like, so go ahead, Bob. Sorry. Cause I cut in to add that about.
No, but like that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, she said her platform in terms of when she ran for the office is like, I'm going to focus on mental illness and I'm going to focus on addiction, because if you look at the real impetus of most crimes, it's
the preventative measures. Absolutely. Exactly. That sounds like, who is that DA?
Jamie Mosser.
Yeah, she's a good one.
It's
outside of Chicago. She's great. And she's legit. And she didn't just run on the platform with hollow words. She actually backed it up, so, which I respect the hell out of, you know what I mean?
Do you guys know I've been considering going to law school because I'm so fucking mad and I just want to run for office. I've decided not to for my sanity.
Encourage you not to do it.
Yeah, I'm not.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's like
it makes me mad, and I think about it often. I'm like, should I just career change in my mid-30s?
No way. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing.
Yeah, because if there's no one doing the digging side of it, especially post conviction, and it's exciting to hear that Jason's doing stuff to like catching wind of stuff ahead of time and trying to, because sometimes, when there were like all those like rallies during COVID and things going on, like in Chicago, and like I'll had like, a mother with like no means calling, looking for her kid. Like, I'm not going to even ask for money. I'm just going to call the police and I'm going to figure out where your kid is. And like, cause I'm thinking, God forbid something happens to this kid and like, that kind of thing. Yeah. But there's just so many people out there who have like zero resources. And then those kids would have been, I don't even know the story, but you said 3 black guys and a white guy. Yeah. They're done, like it's, so
it was Virginia or Georgia. They would have been fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real. It's truth. I mean, that's what we're dealing with like on a daily basis. So, and people just don't know. They just don't know. It's like the media reports on what they want to report on. And, this is like the underbelly, but makes up a majority of the criminal justice system. It's the underserved and like people with no access to funds. And they, if you don't think that money helps in terms of defending your case, you're nuts, because it does. It makes
absolutely. Of course.
It's like,
so someone's asking if Maggie has any suggestions on journalists for Delphi per Baldwin's request. Got any lines on?
No,
I don't. But I feel like there's
a lot of eyes.
Yeah, there's a lot of eyes.
There's a lot of eyes, especially mine.
I think even just having you there is.
I'm on it like stink on shit. Like
the right eyes.
they don't need a journalist because I'm there. Like and I'm better. Like I'm gonna be like better suited to be able to talk to the lawyers, because like that's what my goal is in terms of I want to get these guys back on the case because they actually give a shit. I mean, she ends up putting in, so she doesn't, like after they enter their pro bono, these guys both said, okay, you know what? You coerce us into withdrawing. Now we're going to come back and we're going to enter our pro bono appearances on behalf of Richard Allen. We're going to handle it for free because we're that adamant about his innocence, and we're going to finish what we started. So they go in, and this is what happened yesterday. And they go in, and she's like, you know what? Like in good conscience, I can't. She tells Richard Allen sitting there, she's like, I understand that these are your lawyers that you're choosing to represent you for your life. These are the guys that you want to fight for your life. And I'm telling you that I'm not going to let them do it. I was so blown away, like in a bad way. I had never seen anything like it. And it all stems from this leak of these crime scene photos. you know, that she said that they were grossly negligent in their representation of Richard Allen. And I'm like, so yeah, no, it's a mess, that thing. But you know, there's a lot of people out there that understand what's going on, and I'm trying to shine a lot of light on it. So you know, like I'm hopeful, you know, I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to have some kind of impact with that. So
preventing.
Yeah.
There it is. Eyes watching.
Yep. You know it.
Do you want to let Maggie go and then deal with
I
some of
do.
the
I do. Maggie, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
This was great. And I just want to say the people that tuned in are really fantastic. Like, you guys have amazing listeners. Y'all are smart and engaged and have amazing questions. So
yeah, they're good ones. There's no question. We've got like, it's like, in terms of like our pod, what we try to do is educate, you know, but make it interesting, obviously. But yeah, I like to think that we have the smartest listeners out there. We've got, you know, we really
from what
do.
I've seen in this chat, I would say so.
Yeah. So and like, that's why we loved having you, because you're just out there doing the real shit. Not like I'm in awe of it, and I'm so appreciative that you're out there, because we need people like you. You know, we really do. Like, it's so like
funny, because I'm in awe of you guys. I'm like, I should get a law degree.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
You got us. You got us. Anything you need, you know, like from like if it's something we can handle, you got us always, you know, just a call away. So
yeah, I had you send Nikki Zinger paperwork.
Is that who it was?
Yeah, the one in Arkansas. Yep.
Yeah. So that's we got it
was
in.
The Midwest Innocence Project application.
Yeah. And we got it in, right? It made it in.
And I talked to Trisha, and yeah, she was like, we know it, we want it, we can't.
Damn.
Nice.
Damn. No, not nice.
It's not nice.
So
obviously innocent, and
that was the conflict one where they represented the.
Yeah.
Oh,
damn. That's brutal.
I know.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
All right. So I can't wait to hang with you again. Thank you so much.
I know. When I get my podcast back going, season 3 of Wrongful Conviction comes out in January. So you guys should follow that. Right now it's Jason on the feed, but January it will be me.
Cool. I'll be there. I'll be
cool,
there.
Guys.
And
thank you.
I'll talk to you. See you, Maggie.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I didn't mean to pull you off, baby.
I was like, I'm going to go get something to eat. He's letting me out.
No. All right, so let's go. All right, so that was awesome. Maggie's an unbelievable human being, and she's out there doing the real shit. So, like, have you been? So I'm hoping that Carly's been throwing up questions. I think she was doing a good job of that. So let's go through some thank yous. We got.
And I've seen like you've got Shannon and Jay here, always doing what they do.
Yeah, all of our mods.
Shaming of Jay and publicly buzzed guys are working hard, and you know everyone else more than me.
We got tons of them. We got tons and tons of mods working tonight. So we got before we get into the thank yous, let's see who we got working tonight. So we got, of course, Jay, Shannon, we got Dizzy, we've got
so they putting up
is out there, we got Janet out there, we got Misty Mayhem. We've got Stevie is out there. Like, all these guys have been on there modding. I don't want to miss anybody. We got True Compass as Shay. She's out there. Of course, we've got Carly out there. We got Angela out there. And these guys have all been modding for us. So thank you guys so much. It's like, I knew what it was like last night not having a mod.
Last night was really hard because I was rushing on a deadline. I couldn't really help much. So I apologize for anyone out there that I was way not engaged yesterday.
Yeah, I told them, I knew, like, you were in the middle of it, and I shouldn't have dragged you out, like, because like it was just like you had real work going on. So that was really my fault. And you hadn't slept in a long time. So so all you guys, you mods, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. And we're so appreciative that you're doing it for us. Cause like I said, I learned the hard way last night. I like trying to go through that chat to try to find questions. And cause like, we always want to try to answer questions. It was impossible. It was like, we had a ton of people in there, and it was just a lot. So Shay Bonet, welcome to Just Facts, new member. Megan Drum, new member. Woo woo. Brianna, Brenna Jones. Sorry, I butchered your name, first name. I am not T-Pain. Thank you and love you. Appreciate you, everything that you do. Patricia Peterson, $10 holla. So let's throw this up. Thank you. I'm a new member. Love you guys. My favorite words for ones that can't think straight. It's not over till it's over. Damn right. That's for sure. Oh, Debbie Shearer, always giving the love with 5 Defense Diaries memberships. Thank you so much for spreading that love. That is amazing. Laura, Maggie. Oh, we read this comment, but we didn't give you thanks for that $5 holla. We appreciate that. Abby Riley, new member. Oh, Michelle H. Is it like, I don't know if Jay still is this the same Michelle that was like just gifting out like an incredible amount of memberships on Jay's stream earlier today? If it is, thank you so much. If it's not, thank you so much. For sure. And Jennifer Hill, thank you for bringing up Jamie Snow. That was obviously something that Maggie was happy to talk about. So thank you for doing that, Jennifer, and thank you for that $7 holla. And Charmaine, thank you so much. Thank you. You're always giving. You give till it hurts.
A lot of you guys.
Every live, Charmaine is always giving. So we're super thankful, super appreciative of that. 5 big Defense Diary memberships. Sandy Nichols, Ali, if you're not aware, is an OG listener of the pod. Sandy has been there forever. Sandy has been one of our biggest supporters forever. Like, you didn't even need to put it there that you're a longtime supporter. Sandy, believe me, I know. I see you. You are seen. Thank you for that $5 holla. And then Charmaine comes back again. And, she absolutely is just crushing the game. Thank you so much, Charmaine, for that $7 holla. And I love this one. So true. It's so true. I'm so glad that you started this channel, and I love the podcast as well. Much respect from Northern Minnesota. Woo, Midwest. P.S. You most certainly outkicked your coverage. Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, like, precocent. I want to tell me I'm saying that right. Precocent.
What it looks like to me.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that $5 holla. And we've got hit that like button. Thank you for repping for us. And go follow Maggie and support the important work she's doing. Yes. And also, I'm available to help with tech and mod if needed. I'm definitely taking you up on that. Like, no question. Like, so I will be definitely, like, I'm going to go through. There's 2 people I saw, LawNerdAmber and Precocent. I'm going to have both of you guys. You'll be mods. Because as far as I'm concerned, the more mods, the better, especially people that are awesome. So thank you so much for that $5 holla. Jennifer Johnson, another $5 holla. Love you. And love this. Lauren Does Law, $1.99. Thanks again, y'all. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
What is at the cross XXX and at Lauren Does Law?
Yes.
So I guess you guys got to go follow that stuff.
Yeah, definitely follow those Twitter accounts. And they're amazing. And just so you know, like, do you remember that comment from the law students at UCLA last night? Do you remember that? Like, yeah, it was.
I remember anything from last night's live? No.
Well, I remember it was like there was a group of law students out at UCLA that were watching the stream, and they were giving us love. So,
I feel bad that
I'm assuming Lauren does law is one of those folks.
She must do law, pretty sure.
Must do law. So, like, yeah, either young lawyers or young to be lawyers. So we love y'all, and like I know these cats they're coming to fight the good fight with us on the defense side of it. It sounds like to me. So, all right, let's see. Before we let y'all bounce, Carly, did you see any other member questions?
You got a little new thing from Australia here.
Where?
Crimes under new comment. Go below Lauren.
Oh, okay. Crimes under investigation. Woo! $4 from Australia. Thanks for keeping us informed, Australia. Thank you for watching from Australia. I always love when folks from different countries tune in, because it's like it's fascinating that we all have different legal systems, and I love that. And it's just like Gazella, who has the Grizzlies, like, she's amazing, and she's been giving me love, and I'm so appreciative of her and any of her listeners who have come over. I'm super, super appreciative of her. Teresa in Criminality gives me a ton of love. She's got a great channel too. Those are both two great true crime not pods, but channels.
So can all of the mods see the private chat?
No. Yeah, everybody. Well, no, you, me, and Carly are the only ones, because we have to be in, you've got to be like in behind backstage.
No, I'm just glad, because sometimes I'm yelling at you like, hey babe, let's go.
It's true. It's a true story. It's true. Like she yells at me in the privates, y'all.
Oh guys, I never yell. It's all Bob.
Oh, this is Clee. Clee is
I remember.
Clee's a good man. I spent yesterday freezing with Clee, waiting to get into Delphi. He's another boots on the ground guy along with me, and we sat next to each other. I think we pretty much sit next to each other, it seems like every time, right? Clee gave me paper. Out there. Yeah, he's my guy. He's my brother, man. So good to see you, Clee. Thanks for joining. We appreciate that. And
then let's just like double check the chat, and if there's any questions that stand out from members, here's one. Second hook. Now that Richard Allen's trial is pushed out another year, can and shouldn't defense move to get him moved out of that prison again? Absolutely. I mean, anytime there is a change of circumstances, I think that could be the basis for a new motion. So where the judge is like, well, I've already ruled on that
twice.
So, right. But this is, if it's been moved another year, it is definitely a basis to bring it. But I think at this point, it might be worth waiting and seeing what the Supreme Court does in the next week or so. I mean, I'm always an optimist, and, sometimes still so naive that I think it's possible that there could be some change maybe with the judge, but
we can only hope. Like I'm not going to drift into a whole Delphi thing, but it's always percolating up here. And just so people understand, like there was a rumor that was circulating today that it like somebody had said that she being Judge Gull was going to be releasing the sound from the audio from the in chambers hearings, and I think Sleuthy was able to of course she went to the source. She went to both the court reporter and the clerk, and it sounds like that was not true. So, yeah. So anybody that was hoping that was true, like myself, I was very much hoping that was true.
I mean, I thought that was outrageous, but in an exciting way, but I just didn't think. I was like, because you mentioned that, I was like, wait, who's getting it and how and what? I see we've got, like, I'm hoping the mods are putting up their links. Like there's some links for the shaming of Jay and publicly buzzed. And I'm sorry, because I don't know all of you like Bob does. So I know he just mentioned a ton other that I'm not throwing out there right now.
Yeah, no, like it goes without saying. Like, I mean, I think anybody in here at this point knows that my channel family is, of course, the shaming of Jay, publicly buzzed, Joe Jackalone. Those are my people, and they all have great channels. And hopefully the mods have been putting that up in the chats. I am joining Jay tomorrow for what we anticipate will be the defendant in Adelson. Charlie Adelson is testifying tomorrow, Ali. So it's pretty exciting. You remember the Adelson case, right?
Yeah. Jay told me about it, and I watched some with you. And
yeah, he's taking the stand. He's testifying his own.
Testifying in his own defense.
Yes.
Oh my Lord! I need to catch up, or I just need to get Jay on the phone to catch me up. Because
well, I mean, if you're
I heard something today
in the morning, you can watch Jay and I.
No,
or better yet, you could jump on with us.
I've got a hearing on a
real
whole thing tomorrow. But you had Jay's channel up earlier, and before I went for my nap, and I was like, they're playing some sort. It sounded like an interview of, and I'm assuming maybe it was the witness that, like the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend. I don't know if she was still on, but I was trying to
Katie. Yeah.
I was trying to listen, and I was like, what is happening right now? And Jay seemed very like intently paying attention, but
oh, Jay's on his best behavior this trial, and it's hard. It's
yeah,
hard to sit there.
you can't always throw out,
Well,
shots.
no, what I'm saying is people want to listen to the testimony. So it's like, when we're streaming it, like we're trying to, like, if him and I are on, we're trying to, like, sneak some, like, funny
Right, do it when there's a
commentary.
lull.
Right. So, and then, like, I don't know if you remember because you haven't had much sleep, but we are jumping on for another date night. Double date night with Jay and Shans tomorrow night. I think we're going to be tomorrow night.
Not Friday.
No, Friday. I am jumping on. It better not be because I just
assumed because a lot of times they do. I thought it was like Friday date night or.
Confirm that, Jay. That's tomorrow night, right? We're doing the double date. I think it's.
Well, that frees up more people for Feral Friday with Publicly Buzzed.
And because I'm joining them. My boys Publicly Buzzed for Feral Friday. It's going to be amazing. We are digging into my passion. We're going to be digging deep into Delphi, and Steve and Dan are awesome. And I can guarantee you, Steve always works up some treats. So he'll have some ammo going in there.
Well, I hope he's got those audio tapes from the in-chamber proceedings.
that would be next level. So
all right, and it is tomorrow with our little date night with Jay and Shannon on the shaming of Jay.
Yep. That'll be great. And we're going to talk, like, I'll bone you up on Adelson because we're going to be focusing on that. And hopefully I know that you haven't.
Jay loves when he tells me stuff I don't know anyway. So
yeah, I mean,
but I will bone up because I want to know some more stuff.
I mean, like, you're super great at, like, general law questions because you're like a walking, like, law book. So, like, I mean, you're going to be good no matter what. Like, Jay and I could do the heavy lifting, like, with fact specific stuff. And, like, you can handle all the.
Right. And then you get me, like, shocked and outraged when you tell me something. So it works.
Outraged. Yeah. And so y'all, so in the morning, join us over on the Shaming of Jay for watching what is sure to be like an amazing morning of testimony from the defendant himself. And Jay and I will make it as fun as possible, but also serious because we're also trying to get justice for Dan Markell and Ruth, his mother. But
LawNerdAmber says that she's timestamping Jay's feed. So
she is, and that's why I said I'm adding LawNerdAmber is going to be a mod. I'm bringing you on, and I would love for you to do that for us as well, because you offered. So now can't take it back. You're stuck.
Sorry, too late.
And then tomorrow night, make sure you're back with Jay. And then Friday, of course, we'll be hanging with Publicly Buzzed. And y'all should be watching that, whether we're like both those channels, whether we're there or not. And then make sure you're jumping over to Joe Jackalone, because if y'all are into Gilgo or just like an amazing channel that is going to always give you victim-centric, just straight up, just facts type of info, Joe Jackalone's the guy. 20-year cop, just salt of the earth, like just a wonderful guy. So make sure you're subbing to all three if you aren't, and come check us out tomorrow. And if I forgot any questions or I didn't get to it, I'm sorry. But
well, if somebody paid, you definitely got to it. So
I think so. And
then
I'm a little more like people that are subscribed.
Well,
like,
I mean, that's why I'm trying to go through, and I still like to definitely pay attention to subscribed people's questions it's
for sure. But like last night, I felt like I was sneaking around behind your back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to answer a couple questions of people that didn't pay. So, because like I've had some people be like, hey, subs matter too, and subs do matter. So, and we love this community. And
yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why.
Definitely. So like, like Paige Arnold, let's see what's happening in Delphi and also Canton, Mass. And now this Philly case. I can't believe the corruption in our court systems. Believe it. It's,
and I don't think we figured out a way to highlight our Patreons. So anyone who is a Patreon, you just put in bold Patreon question or whatever. And I promise you, I am on Bob, and he just said that he agrees. We've got to do something quick. We are coming at you.
We are coming at you. Yes, all of our
Private at
patrons,
some
we got you. We got you guys. I've just been like, you've seen what I've been doing. I've been stuck in it with the Delphi stuff, and I didn't want to do that private because I want the world to know. That's stuff that I'm trying to shine light on that stuff. But trust me, we got stuff that's like special for y'all coming like imminently. Sleuthy every time. The dildo receipt. It's so good. Yeah, me too. I am not T-Pain for real. For real.
All right, let's go eat.
All right, let's go eat. We love y'all. Stevie Irwin, who is also a mod, and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I named him. If I missed a mod, I'm sorry. Angela, I hope I said you. I'm going through. I think I got everybody. I hope I didn't. If we didn't answer a question, please know that we're not ignoring you. That it's just it's tough to get through all of them, and we do want to give.
I'm gonna read this other comment. It's from Carrie RH.
Okay.
Defendants are meant to be innocent unless and until deemed guilty in a court of law. So it sucks even more that prosecutors can go on TV and talk saying defendant is guilty, but defense can't do the converse. I mean,
that's what we're trying to say. That's what
right. She's picking up what we're throwing out for sure.
That's right. Exactly.
So, well, thank you guys all again.
Yeah, no, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the stream, and we'll be seeing you over the next couple of days. We'll be all up in the YouTubes and the internets with Shaming Jay Publicly Buzzed. Thanks for joining us on Just Facts. Catch you next time.